Hello. Hey guys. It's
Hey
been a
guys,
while. Hi.
you
Hello.
guys got you guys have returned from some event.
Yes, it was a wonderful event we had at our
Yes,
common
yes,
retreat.
it
Hello,
was.
I see Eva's here. We met Eva there. And who else is here? Yetzi. We didn't meet Yetzi yet. Okay, is this a dating stream? Ubercast wants to know. No, but if you want to know if you're an NPC, we're going to tell you. So dating stream, what exactly does that mean?
I
For those
guess
of us who don't
something that
know.
has to do with
We're about to
dating.
find out.
Okay, so
What
maybe
is it
tell
then,
us what it
Seth? Maybe,
means.
maybe, maybe tell them what's happening here for those who
What is an
are.
NPC?
No, what is this show? What is this podcast
Ah,
for anyone who's
welcome.
checking us out?
Yes, if you think that this is a dating show, a dating stream, not sure what that means, but this is the Great Transition. Welcome. We are students of the Kabbalist, of a Kabbalist, Michael Lightman. We are studying for a long time. But when we studied through all those years, we studied the spiritual world. There's a lot of questions about what's happening in our life. Why if spirituality is the most important thing, we all found meaning in our life. We started to find answers to things in our life. So why do we need to deal with rent and mortgages and these idiot politicians and food that's full of poisons and just endless problems? Like what is this life? Why is it like this? What do we learn from it? What can we see through it? And it turns out that all of this reality is like garments on forces. And what we do in this show is talk about what we see in front of us in this reality and learn to see behind those garments, learn to see what are the forces operating behind reality. Welcome to the Great Transition. Here we are. And for those of you who don't know what an NPC is, it means you probably don't have teenagers. An NPC is a video game character that is a non-player character, right? So they're the ones that are just running around following. So you are the one you're controlling, but all the other characters who are just running around following the script of the software, those are NPCs. Well, there's an interesting phenomenon now in pop culture that people think that there's certain people out there in our life that are NPCs. You ever have that guy in your neighborhood who just kind of walks down the street at exactly the same time every day? There's a guy in my town who wears a towel around his head and he waits at the bus stop. If I get home from work at 6:30 p.m. or if I'm coming home at 4 o'clock p.m., every time I come home, he's in the bus stop with a big white towel around his head and giant earphones, very fat, with a leather kind of briefcase folio.
Hmm.
I have no idea what he does. I don't know where that's acceptable to walk into an like take a big white bath towel and wrap it around your head and put earphones on. He's an older guy, big fat belly and a leather folio, and he waits at the bus station every day. So he might be an NPC, might not actually be a real
If you don't
person.
see him, there's a glitch in the matrix.
Right. So everyone kind of has experiences with these kind of people. Like, are they, this person just kind of running some software, or they actually have a whole life somewhere with thoughts and feelings as well.
And you
So
can't help but wondering, does anyone else see you as an NPC as well? Because maybe you're an NPC
interesting.
in their show of
Right. I'm
life. I
so
mean, who
insignificant in
knows?
someone else's
Yeah,
show that I'm just, yeah,
yeah.
right. I'm that guy who comes in and gets papayas from that one store. Like, oh, there's the papaya guy. Like, all he does is buy papayas here, right? He's probably, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe we'll get into that later, though. Yeah, that's
Okay. Yeah. I
So
never
yeah.
thought that
we
maybe
got
I
the
might
idea then,
be
right? So an
significant.
NPC, it's kind of like an internet meme, right? Too, it's like it's kind of like another name for like a robot, like a humanoid robot. Like if you see someone in this world, you gave a great example. It's just kind of like a meme, like, oh yeah, he's just NPC, just like he's just doing his like beep bop bleep, job in this world, and he thinks that no one knows, but everyone knows. That's that's kind of the
What,
meme.
that he's an NPC?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So why do we want to talk about this? Very interesting. Who we are, how we're operating. Very interesting. Imagine you have a young couple. They're really into each other. Let's call them John and Stacy. Okay, you guys following
Okay.
me here with our story of
Yeah,
John and
I'm
Stacy? Okay.
there.
Um,
Yep.
can you? Okay, good. All right, hold on a second. Okay. Um,
There's some
Stacy
weird
doesn't really.
crackling noises from the AC here, so I'm sorry if that gets into
Okay,
your
no, no, it's
headphones.
not distracting.
Okay.
So Stacy doesn't really care about sports. Okay, but John is really into sports, and Stacy's really into John. So she wants him to be happy. So they decide that John's going to watch the game, and after the game, they're going to go out for a romantic dinner. All right, you following the story so far?
Oh
All
yeah.
right. Yeah.
Unfortunately, John's team loses. And because John, like you and me, is an animal. Wait, what? Okay, you can write down the question you could ask later. Because John, like you and me, is an animal, his testosterone level decreases when his team loses. The team happens to be, John lives in New Jersey, but his team happens to be Manchester United. They're in a city in England. He doesn't know anybody on the team. He's never even been to England. But when his team loses with people who don't even know that he exists, his testosterone level goes down. They go out to dinner. He's a little bit moody. Stacy doesn't know why this is happening, but he's like less assertive. He's less energetic. His libido decreased. He's not like initiating any romance. They're going to be meeting the parents this weekend. They're going to be telling the parents this weekend that they're going to be getting engaged, but there's no kind of chemistry. He's acting kind of uninterested in being intimate. Stacy, as a healthy young woman, starts to get very confused. Everything was going so well. My mother, they told him how great he is. What are we going to do? We're supposed to announce our engagements this weekend. They end up not being intimate that night. There's like a lack. She starts making up a whole story about what the problem is. Folks, the whole problem was because Manchester United lost the game. And Stacy doesn't understand the connection between John's testosterone level and what happens with his team over in England.
Does John understand the connection?
John doesn't also
Does
understand.
does our audience
Nobody,
understand the
guys,
connection?
no, nobody understands anything. Let's start with the premise that pretty much our audience probably knows a few things, but the point and what we're going to circle around, what I'd like to circle around in this conversation is, I want to have a good life.
Yeah.
I met a good guy. I, worked on myself. I dealt with the traumas from my past, and I learned about myself and how I tick and how he ticks and what we did, all these things. I didn't consider that I'm not going to be able to get pregnant if his team loses.
What? That's not a stretch.
How am I supposed to, first of all, know that? Second of all, keep track of how many variables. Like, I have the knobs in front of me, right? Like, I can make a good dinner. I'm Stacy, right? I can get dressed in a certain way that I know that John likes. I can speak to him in the way that he likes. I can hold his arm in the way that he likes. Right? I'm Stacy. I can all these things I know. Now it turns out there's another 5,000 knobs that are not even within my reach that I have no control over, and they're directly affecting my life and my future family's life. So a couple questions come up. Like, first of all, how do you know where these knobs are?
Wait,
How do you know how to?
just to make it clear. So what you're saying, I mean, you told it as a story, but this is actual stuff that's happening.
This is real science. Anybody can
This
Google
is
this
science.
science. This is real science.
The fact that men's libido is influenced, and testosterone levels and performance, whatever, is influenced by whether their team, their soccer team, wins or loses. That's a correlational
You can use it
science.
For, you can use it for your send your woman to Taylor Swift's concert.
Right.
She'll be on fire when she comes home. You could use it maybe to your advantage. But yeah, there's many factors. There's many factors that we don't understand how we are connected to them in any way.
So I could do everything in my power to do, like you said, but some things are not in my power. I mean, I can't make the team win. That's kind of what you're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, this is what we want to open up here. What
Well,
you
it's
do,
actually Yeah,
Is my life totally out of my control then? Because if I can do everything that I can do, but there's all of these other factors that I seemingly don't have any control over that dictate whether or not I'm going to be happy. So then what do I do?
that is a question. But I do want to relate to this the state of I don't know if you've been to any like sports events or whatever, but if you passionately care about the team, obviously you've seen what happens. I mean, you always bring up the Argentina. We had that like the flyover with the drone in Argentina. They won or whatever, right? The World Cup, and that was huge. You know, if you go to a sporting event and you really care about the team, you get pumped up, just pumped up, like whoa, yeah. I guess that actually is. I guess that's testosterone. I mean, it makes sense. Like, oh, dude, that was awesome. Like that feel. You feel like I guess you feel part of that thing. Like you have this big mob mentality, like, oh yeah, you don't even care about the guy next to you, you're just, high five, like that kind of thing. I guess that is testosterone. So we can look at the science, but I believe it just from firsthand experience. That is definitely something that happens. Now, I
Yeah,
wouldn't have said that I have bigger sex drive or something, but I believe it.
we know that feeling that we're in you're at a game and your team scores and you turn around and you high five a total stranger or like, yes, and you hug a total stranger. We all, I mean, most of
Yeah.
us
Yeah.
have been to some experience like that
Yeah.
and we've high fived a total stranger and we're so happy. We don't know what comes over us,
Yeah.
but, but we don't that we kind of experience and that there's something there. I think we all kind of like that magic, like when you're at a concert, and everybody's singing
But
together.
this is
Same.
so much more. This example is so much more direct and like clear. The fact that my testosterone levels have to do with something that doesn't seem directly related to it, and that's more weird and peculiar. That's like it just kind of shows you how you don't even know why you're acting, feeling, behaving in a
Right.
certain way. When you feel like, at least with the guy in the in the stadium with you, like, or something, you kind of you feel a camaraderie. There's something like, the feeling is, you didn't expect it. The feeling is weird. The strange, maybe even warm, fuzzy, but you kind of understand what's happening. We're rooting for the same team. There's a whole system of social influences that we're unaware of. We don't even know why we act a certain way or think a certain way or do a certain thing. So
Remember
that's really
you
the yeah.
remember you talked about maybe it was in your movie even, but like if your friend smokes, you're more likely to
Oh,
smoke,
yeah,
or if
yeah,
your
yeah, yeah,
friend's
yeah,
friend
yeah, yeah.
smokes or something like that, you're more likely to
Great,
smoke.
great. So this is super relevant. Yeah. So the this is
Was that in
actually
your movie, by the way?
that was in
Plug
Crossroads.
it.
Yes.
Plug
Yeah,
the
and I
movie. I
also
know it's
had a
old.
yeah, actually, Crossroads is a documentary that I did about a decade ago, and it's still actually
Oh, it's a long time ago.
Wow.
gaining some views bit by bit. More. It's been translated by volunteers to over 20 languages by now. Many times I get like, I keep getting emails from people around the world, like, I watched this movie and and I feel like this, feel like that. So it's cool for people who are kind of
Still
interested in.
relevant.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean, to some, it's definitely relevant in many aspects, and then it's also like 10 years old on the other hand. But anyway, the very relevant research to what we're talking about that I covered there is very cool. And I also I remember anyway, you brought me back. You brought back the some memories of making it. I remember writing to Professor Christakis about using his interview. I was very amazed to discover like the research that they did. This is James Fowler and Nicholas Christakis. They're both social scientists. They have other titles too, and but the big thing is this: they used data that was tracking individuals. I can't remember the exact details, but it's about over 10,000 people for more than 30 years. It's a longitudinal kind of analysis. So you take data from
Sounds
a,
thorough.
Yeah, very thorough, and like, and what the data was, it was tracking those individuals, asking them, how do you feel, checking their all of their, their vitals, and like their weight, and do they smoke, what are their preferences, what are their values, whether their tastes in music and politics, and what, just really examining their life, and checking also their social ties. Who are they connected to? Who's their best friend? How many friends do they have? Colleagues, relatives, family, and so forth. So now you have like a bunch of data uh, uh, on thousands of people for 30 years. So these social scientists, they took the data. The data was collected for medical purposes, but they took the data and they started analyzing it. And then when you have that kind of data, you start to see patterns. You start to see like a bird's eye view of the networks. And it turns out that almost anything you can think of that people do think and feel, like, are you happy, are you sad, did you gain weight, did you lose weight, the rate at which you have sex, your taste in music, film, your voting, political preferences, taking up smoking, starting to drink, stopping to drink, all of those phenomena that I just mentioned, these are examples that I remember, and there's more. All of those, it turns out, are socially contagious phenomenon. So basically, when you feel happy, when you feel sad, when you start smoking, when you become gain weight or anything else, there's a network around you of people you're connected to that these influences travel through you. And you're like a node in the network that is now being influenced by a wave, by a ripple effect. That's how the data looks.
But when we're talking about social media, it's clear there's a network. For example, like I open Instagram and I see that he's got a new yoga mat, so I need a new yoga mat, or he's got a new phone, whatever, so I need it. That's clear if it's if I'm seeing something or I'm hanging out with people.
Right.
I'm more interested in another level. This network, does it have to be a physical network?
Absolutely not. The whole data comes from before Facebook was even a thing. For instance, Facebook being like, Facebook started what, 2008? The data comes from before. It's very interesting. Social networks are, we hear social network today, it sounds immediately like Twitter, or something like that. But no, social networks is just the people we come in contact with. It doesn't matter the platform that connects us. And it turns out that these ripple effects, they can influence you even if it's the friend of a friend of a friend. Like, this means that if someone you don't even know, think about the friend of a friend of a friend of a friend of yours, right? That is a person you probably don't know. And they're now doing something, and that influence travels through you. From the interviews with Fowler and Christakis, they say, look, when you look at the data, you just see a bird's eye view. They run it through.
The data doesn't lie, right?
And the visualization that they do is kind of cool, because you see basically nodes, just network, simple visualizations of networks, but they run the data over time, like seeing and you see how everything happens in groups. It just looks like clusters of cells that are becoming closer, becoming farther, and then they see obesity and what happened in the network. They look at smoking and what happened in the network, and it just all looks like like stampedes of norms and influences that travel, ripple effects that travel through people.
So I'm trying to drink less, and I'm doing well, and I get home and I'm just, some desire in me comes to open a beer.
Right.
And I'm using a different camera. I see it keeps readjusting, so just here.
It's finding the best angle for it.
It adds some flair to your video.
So I don't want to drink, but I get home, and because people in my network are drinking, I just unconsciously go to the fridge and take a beer and drink.
That's right.
And isn't that why AA exists in the first place, to kind of counter that? You're basically just building yourself another environment that you want to have more influence over you. And also that lady, the friend of a friend of a friend who you said is like, you probably don't know them. That's kind of similar to the basketball game. Like you can't really, that person can't really directly influence you, and you can't really directly influence them necessarily, right? The friend of a friend, you probably don't even have their phone number. You can't, just the same way you can't directly influence this basketball game or a soccer game or whatever. So there's something here, this, and hence probably this whole NPC thing. Like, okay, so right, so this,
So
so
who's
all these
actually
influences are around me. Yeah. So what I'm
who's
just,
the
it's just a,
player? Who's the
exactly.
player if everybody is, I'm controlled now by my friends who are drinking, what drugs my friends are doing, what the sports team is doing over there,
Yep.
what all these thousands of other things are affecting my behavior. I didn't smoke cigarettes in 10 years. Why now I'm going to smoke a cigarette? Right? Like
And a really
all
interesting one. Yeah.
Uh,
the, so
What?
there's all these thousands of influences that
yeah.
are affecting, and we are people who are engaged in this all the time. We are people who spend every day questioning reality, reading and studying and speaking about what's going on. Most people are not. So most people are just accepting these influences upon themselves and just living a total life as they're clothed and they live in homes with roofs and running water, but it's mostly a completely unconscious
Let me ask
NPC
just
life.
to demonstrate it. Let me ask anyone who's watching us right now, right? When you have a desire for something, anything, I want ice cream. We tend to think, I want ice cream, I want new shoes, I want to just go home and rest, or whatever it is. We tend to think about our desires as we feel it intuitively, instinctively. We feel it as our own. This is my desire, and I want to do something. I want this football team to win. I want this political candidate to win. I want this thing to happen to me. I want, where does it come from, though? Where does the desire come from? We don't tend to question that. We just tend to, whoop, a desire comes. I gotta go and fulfill it.
Act as a
Cause
fact.
why? Because I want it. So we feel those wants and desires. We feel them as our own. But if we ask the question, where did it come from? Who or what or how was this desire planted in me? If you start going down that rabbit hole, that's where life starts taking on a completely different spin. You're starting to consider, what is this program that operates my desires? Where do they come from? Are they even mine? That's where you start to have some
It's
differentiation between.
intangible.
It's in well. Check this. I just while you were talking the last minute, I had to just dig up this quote from Kabbalist Yehuda Ashlag Baal Sulam in his article about free choice. Right, there's just a short one. He writes, determining the type of pleasure and benefit are entirely out of one's own free choice. It follows the will of others, as they want, not the individual. For example, I sit, I dress, I speak, I eat, I do all of these not because I want to sit that way, or talk that way, or dress that way, or eat that way, but because others want me to sit, dress, talk, and eat that way. It follows the desire and fancy of society, not my own free will. So that's the kind of this is heavy stuff. If you let that
Can you read
And
it
that's
again?
and that's
dwell
so
on
I'm
this
saying
for a
that
second.
what, like 100 years ago kind of thing.
So this
too,
is
before
this is
any
a
of
Kabbalist.
Christakis.
This is a Kabbalist saying that almost 100 years ago, with just based on spiritual attainment of the structure of human society and the mechanism that operates human desires. Essentially, he's saying, I can read it again, but and there's there. I love this article. So deep, but essentially he's saying, look, there's a network that's happening here. just like the data that from the research, from the Christakis and Fowler's research. He's saying basically there's a network. Everything that happens to the individual runs through others. These are influences that travel the network, and that's our life, essentially. So back to your like original question, right? And the question of the show are, how to tell if you're an NPC. In a sense, we're all NPCs. Maybe there's a way out. We could discuss that too. But in a
That
sense,
doesn't
we
feel
all
right.
are. We
But you know what?
think about it. Where do you get your desires from?
But that's the problem. You can't really pinpoint it, though. You can't really. You would talk about a network. You talk about a system,
Yep.
right? Because we're always,
Yep.
you use this data, and if something appears, like you can see a visualization of something that is there. But yeah, when you talk about the, Facebook or like some kind of social network, servers that have physical lines connecting one to another, that's kind of also clear. When we talk about where does this desire come from, where's that cable, that Ethernet cable that's
right.
like taking one data to from another data point to another data point.
Ooh, we can.
That's a little bit weird.
Seth, you want to get into that discussion? I'm
Very much,
inspired
because
to get into that discussion.
I want you to
It's going to
imagine-
take us to hardcore Kabbalah land, though.
That's
At
my
least
favorite
somewhat.
thing to-
Yeah. Okay.
I want you to imagine 20 adults.
All right.
I want you to imagine that each of these adults was a child. Let's say that their parents loved them. Let's say
Okay.
that this adult ate 2 to 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, 21 meals. It's a lot of preparing food and cleaning dishes, or making the money to eat at a restaurant, and
Okay.
growing up, having a career. Okay, people with a lot of details, many nights coming home after work, like stories, a lot of stories behind these people. Okay, and I want you to look at them. Tell me if you can see this. This is those people. Can I get it?
Oh
Yeah.
boy.
Hold on. Wait,
They had a buffet.
wait. No, hold on, even better.
Nice.
Hold on. Oh, I hope it plays.
Refresh it.
Okay, hold on a second.
And if you're showing it on, is it from a Twitter thing or something? Maybe show the
It is.
source
It
where
is
it
a
comes
Twitter
from.
thing.
X.
Oh, X, it's called right now. Right.
Here we go.
That was a good shot.
Funny
I
line.
want to see it plays.
This is a great one.
There's some drama going on down there in Vegas land. Oh, look at that.
Right.
Spamming that button.
Wow. Wow. When you look at that, oh,
Look at the
boy.
faces.
Wait, forget the faces. Just the monotonous kind of like repetitive movement. I mean, you could. This is like a
There's
scene
like zero
from a
emotion
movie.
on the face, though. It's like
just
zero
like-
emotion.
It just looks like zombified kind of,
That's the right way to say it.
Oh
So
man.
what overrides the system? Like, are those like NPCs? Like, what happened to their families? What happened to their dreams? What happened to their lives? Like, what force is controlling them to just put them in the seat to just do this? What percent of them are losing money just doing this? Like,
Right.
and isn't and then when we all love our sports teams, isn't that kind of like every Sunday we like order the Domino's pizza and the big 2 liter of Coke, and we sit down and we have no control over what's going to happen, and we completely invest ourselves? And how many kind of examples can we think of where
The casino example is a really good one. It's a really, really good one, because you can see these are different people from different backgrounds, right? And they're
Yeah.
so good?
They're it's a good one, yeah. I mean, it's just clearly what brings all of those people, different people from different places, and different probably mentalities, backgrounds, and so forth, but they come and ultimately, for at least a couple of hours, they become just a thing that just does this for you know at the
But they painted their nails.
there's
They got dressed. It's
right.
not just like I rolled out of bed like a slob. Like they're
But
people
but
with
here's the thing.
lives.
Well, there's also, of course, I mean, the what happens there in those casinos, the casino itself. I mean, clearly, it's not a secret that they're designed to keep people on a hamster wheel style thing. They're not designed for like equal opportunity or a true random. They're designed to get people to continue gambling. So when you put
Well,
something
just
in the
like
slot
food is
machine,
designed to get people to keep eating and drinking this and eating that. It's the same. Is
exactly.
it not the same design? Yeah. Okay.
Now take those algorithms, right? So the slot machine algorithm, essentially, you put $10, you earn two, so you still have a little bit of hope, and then at some point someone in the casino wins, but like it's really offset easily by all of the money that people put in, but it gives hope for everyone else to keep going. And then basically, so there's this like self reinforcing loop that is happening there that keeps people as many, as the most time possible. But today we kind of have that on our phones. I mean, what's a social media feed? What's a social media feed? If you're not searching the internet for something specific, if you're not kind of deliberately using your computer or your phone in a certain way, if you're just opening TikTok or Facebook or YouTube or whatever it is, and you just go like this, isn't it the same exact action? That's exactly that's what's happening. Now how many people have this?
Did I win?
How many people have this today? I don't know. How many? 4 billion people? How many people have mobile phones today? I don't know the number, but it's something like that.
Something
so
like
now
that.
take that shot that Seth just showed us and just go into, shoot. Imagine that you were shooting like a montage of not a montage, a collage, like of all the people in the world who are doing this right now, just scrolling their feeds. You'd get a few billion people just doing this. And essentially what they're doing is they're just waiting for the slot machine to give them something. It's just that dopamine hit that, ooh, maybe now this video will be great. Ooh, maybe this next post will be really exciting. Ooh, and it's just, you just get addicted to basically the dopamine hit that you're getting from the element of surprise, which is it's the same slot machine algorithm kind of thing. And billions of people are spending hours on end just doing this right now.
So we're operating.
So NPCs,
we have a program that we run on, and that just slips right into the program, and we just act accordingly. NPC says, hey, if the player approaches, then you start a conversation. If the player gives you this, then you give them that. It's just like a one-to-one. There's a program, and then you interact with that program. That's what you're trying to say right now. There's nothing less. There's nothing more than that.
Yeah, I mean,
there's billions of people doing it.
I think exactly.
Something's going on.
My point is maybe now with technology it's becoming clearer to us, but I don't think it's the case just because of technology and just because of the internet and social media and the Vegas or the algorithm. I think that this is always the case. From a bird's eye view, every individual in the human network is an NPC, meaning the network governs the individual in a way that we don't notice as individuals. Now, this is the most interesting thing about human perspective versus animal instinct. If you look at ants, I just saw. Can't remember the details exactly, but there's another, all the time there's research about ants and social species and swarm intelligence and all that. So there's another one about ants. I just watched it, read it recently, that essentially they move together. It turns out that they move together. They make a decision to kind of move together, and you can even see it when something happens to the colony. anyway, I can't remember the exact details, but you see that movement of the ants moving together. Essentially, this is happening all the time, not just with the still particles or plants that move according to the sun or the temperature and so forth, or animals, social species. This is happening with us humans too. We're the same. We're in the same nature program of nature. We're also embedded into nature's program, and we work and act that way as a network. All individuals are affected by ripples that flow through the network, but we don't feel this to be the case. That's what's so weird about humans.
There's great videos of ants going across the jungle floor, like 100 yards of ants carrying.
When they make a bridge, when they create
creating bridges, moving things, but all of them moving together. And I don't know if it was also in your movie, but there's footage of like aerial footage of Manhattan when everyone comes into the city and they all go up into the skyscrapers, and then at the end of the day they all come out of the skyscrapers and get onto public transportation, and you see this flow of millions of people going up into the skyscrapers and then back out of the skyscrapers, and it's like a pulse of millions of people pulsing in and out, and it's just like the ants. So there's a few serious questions now that we've been flying around this and giving all kinds of examples. A couple questions. Chris brought up the first major question, which is like, what is this network between that's moving all these people? We're not talking about social media, even though we use social media as an example. What are the wires? I think, Chris, you said, what are the wires between us that's transmitting this information? The next question is, if my neighbor's drinking, does that mean I'm going to drink? Or if my friends are drinking, does that mean I'm going to drink? Like, what forces are coming? What's the bandwidth of these messages coming through the wires? And is there a way that different messages have different bandwidths? Like, I'm not picking up on like the cocaine cartel's bandwidth necessarily. Like, that's not really, I don't think, affecting my behavior today, but I might have an extra beer even though I didn't want to. Like, that is. Or I may think something spiritual also. So which of these wires, these invisible wires, are affecting me more? And then I think the last question is, what the heck can I do about it? Are we all just destined to be NPCs, or is there some kind of is the system made like this on purpose, and is there some way to hack the system or use the system correctly for good?
Well, as long as you're not thinking about it, it's fine. I'll just, like you said, I'll just be an ant in and out of the buildings, whatever. But the moment you start thinking about it, you kind of do want to find an answer. It's a little bothersome. I can feel it. But you can feel it. It's not comfortable to know that I'm an NPC. So what's the point? What am I doing here then? If there's just this program, then what's the point?
I mean, the human is kind of the only creature who can say about itself, hey, I'm being governed here by other influences. Like, it's interesting that at least our science can show it to us. It's not in our immediate intuitive perception of the world, of reality, but at least our mind can contemplate it, and we can kind of see data and see that that's the case. That's such a weird, paradoxical existence that we have as human beings. Yeah, you're muted, Seth.
The beaver's like, why are we building this dam?
Exactly.
Like the wolf did that, and then I have to build this beaver because of the wolf.
I just built a dam yesterday and it was destroyed. I don't want it to be destroyed again today. Yeah. Yeah, we're on a totally different plane.
So there's already something unique that some humans can even can start to ask. So it's qualitatively different than being an animal, but it's still not enough.
Let's give a Kabbalistic perspective on the program that runs here. Okay, I'll give it a shot and add on to it and complete the picture. Okay, help me complete the picture. So we're looking at humanity. We were seeing people gambling at Vegas and casinos. We're seeing people just scrolling their feeds endlessly. We see people rooting for their teams, and unknowingly or not, it influence whether the team wins or not. It influences their libido. We're seeing how there is there's a social engineering that is happening all the time. The individual is a continuous product of society, right? But what is the whole machine doing? What's the entire machine for? What is the program that's taking place? Okay, so if all you have is just a bunch of many 8 billion cogwheels today, if you think about the human population. So if you have 8 billion cogwheels and there is some program that moves all these cogwheels and they're all interdependent and they're moving together, they don't notice it, but they are, what's the machine for? What is happening here? What is really the movement of the cogwheels, right? So that's something that, in my view, only Kabbalah really answers. But that takes us to another realm, because the Kabbalistic explanation here is that what we're seeing with our five senses is just it's like the tip of the iceberg. It's like the superficial outcome level of the program. We're not really seeing what's going on. And that's why also we're not even feeling that this is the case. We think we're just individuals walking and, living
when I get
about
a
our
desire,
lives.
that's it. That's
Yeah,
the most
that's it.
superficial. Got a desire.
Exactly. Okay, if you ask me where it came from, then maybe I'm forced to start thinking about it. And I can go into all kinds of philosophies about where it came from and so forth. But really, that's our life. We don't feel the program, right? The program is working on a different layer of reality, on a deeper layer of reality beyond our five senses. That level of reality is a level of thoughts and desires. Let's focus on that, desires. So all human beings, and actually all of the still vegetative and animate matter in the world, all life is a reflection of desires on different levels. There's altogether 4 levels. That's also where the letters Yud He Vav He come from, which people think about as the name of God. It really represents the name of creation. I won't get into that in deep, but in essence, what is happening is that humanity is one system of desires. Those desires are actually a single system, but they're in a state called shattering. So this one system feels itself like many pieces, many shattered pieces of desire. And these pieces of desire, they're in a process of bumping against each other and until they recognize they're connected. They recognize they're actually one thing. And so this process of recognizing is it's called in Kabbalah hitkalelut, which means integration or incorporation. All those pieces of desire are gradually becoming impressed by each other. They're studying each other. That's why all of human life is really, at the end of the day, is relationships. It's our relationships with our boss, with our employees, with our wives, with our husbands, with our kids, with nature, with the computer that I'm working with. It's relationships between desires. That's what's happening behind the scenes.
So I can be close to sitting next to Seth if he was in my room here, but he could also fly across the country, but I would still feel that I'm close to him.
Ooh, nice.
It's kind of like the concept.
Because that system is also sort of underpins space and time. Space and time are just the interface through which we kind of understand the system. A very limited portion, a very limited understanding of the system. The system.
What's the purpose of spreading things out? what is the purpose of putting space and time between things?
Right. So I would put it like this. Space and time are the result of these are emergent phenomenon in our feeling, in our perception of reality that come from the inner distance between us, the disparity of form between all of those different desires. The point of space and time, the reason why we are shattered in the first place, that's really what you're asking about. Why don't all these pieces just recognize they're one to begin with?
And why is there such a gap? Like my neighbor drinks, then somehow an invisible message has to
Right.
pass through the network to me to drink, and how is that fulfilling the purpose of creation?
Because
Can't we bridge the gap between, and why does it have to do with drinking? Or what about the soccer team? Like there's
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
so
It's
much
all
redundancy in the system, it seems
it
like.
it, it it's sure seems like it. It's all
Here, listen,
yeah,
listen. You ever notice this? The
yeah,
ants. They're
yeah.
getting a leaf from over there, but they always need to bring it over to there.
That's
Like,
right.
why don't they just make their nest right next to the leaf they need, and then they don't have to travel? And you know,
If you
and then
continue that,
if you think
yeah, go
about
ahead.
that, yeah, exactly. If you continue that, just move everything closer to its fulfillment, then you don't really need time anymore. Like
And, or
I'm,
movement or movement
yeah,
because
right.
ultimately why does you're ultimately asking the question, why does anything does anything? Right? Why
But why
does
is it designed
anything?
even that you need to do?
Yeah, why is our life built in such a way where we have to like grow up and develop and study and work? Or if it was in historical times, then we did it in a different way, but we still had to provide for our needs because we're in a state where we are not in wholeness, not in eternal fulfillment, not in a sense of oneness that overtakes all of reality. We're in
Which
the
is the whole point
opposite
of
state.
movement anyways. I feel a lack all
Exactly.
the time, so I'm constantly having to move my body or do something in order to somehow satisfy that lack of wholeness.
Yes. By the way, it's a bit of a tangent here, but I just
Go.
feel like it's relevant. The everything that we do in technology comes from that. It comes from our unconscious need to overcome the limitations of space and time. What is
Right.
technology? What is anything that you create? It's either to connect people across continents, to preserve your food for later, to everything in technology is essentially technology is the human aspiration. It expresses the human aspiration to go
Right.
above those limitations that we are in. I'm hot right now. I need an AC that will, regulate the temperature. We're trying to always go beyond the limitations and that's why we are such a technological creature as opposed to all the other creatures. Only monkeys use tools in a similar way, and still it stops at a certain point. Only the human species evolves technology, and technology is a part of our evolution in such a feedback loop, in such an intertwined way. And that's because we have an aspiration to consciously rise above those limitations of space and time.
So there's no actual data cables between us. That's kind of the thing. Like, you're talking about, okay, information, like Seth keeps talking about, like, why am I not drinking? It's like, and we think, okay, there's a line, I don't know, from my brain to the neighbor's brain who's a drinker, and then but it's not actually a line. If you said earlier that it's all just one, and then we are shattered, so that there's no actual lines that are connecting. It's like Einstein's spooky distance
Field?
Yeah,
at
exactly.
a spooky action at a
I was
distance.
just about to bring that up, but I didn't want to be too sciencey. But yeah, quantum entanglement is exactly an example of what you're talking about. What they're finding is it's ridiculously crazy, and yet they got a Nobel prize for it just a few months ago. That essentially on at the quantum level you can observe the phenomenon where you take entangled particles, you separate them across vast distances, and instantly they influence each other. How is that possible? How is that possible? Well,
Faster than
Kabbalistically
light, right?
speaking, it's that they've never separated. There is no, it's still the same one thing. that we're looking at. My friend, our friend, the physicist, who's also a Kabbalist, said that if you were to express that in a in a physics language, but from a Kabbalistic perspective, it's just one wave function. The entire universe is a single wave function. Anyway, okay, geeky science things aside, I think emotionally, what's important for us, if going back to the title of the show, is, do you even want to discover that you might be an NPC? Do you even want to explore that? I think that's the main question. What do you think, Seth? Do
You
think
mean, are you ignoring it? Is that the question? Are you ignoring it, or do you even have the option to
you as a
explore it?
human being, you kind of you can listen to our show right now and say, okay, and I'm gonna go back to, and just go back to this, just go back to, looking into, go back to gambling or what. Not that one cannot do these things for fun. I'm not, not saying that. But are you really going to explore, to be serious about exploring your the meaning and purpose of your life, or
I
not?
think you take a person and they say, look, I grew up and I thought I'm going to go to school, go to college, get a job, retire, and die. And I'm not okay with that. I am breaking out of the system. I'm going to become an entrepreneur. I'm going to start investing in stocks online. That's it. I left my 9 to 5. I moved to Costa Rica. I live on the beach. I do this. And then you look back after 10 years and no, you didn't live a 9 to 5, but you're just an NPC in Costa Rica. Like there's, it doesn't matter where you go and what you do. Like so now you're in Costa Rica and you think like those flip flops and the coconut smoothie are the cool thing to do versus getting your your Dunkin' Donuts before.
You mean you
and
thought you
your
escaped,
Skechers
but you
shoes.
didn't really escape?
You just
escaped
changed
one.
you moved from one program to another program
That's all you did,
and
really.
became a product of that. So now
So
you're, yeah.
yeah. So is it? How do you escape
Oh,
from the
okay.
system?
Okay, let's say a word about that. So what is then the difference between just moving from one influence to another influence, one algorithm to another algorithm? Is there a way out of it? And if so, how is that different? I'm going to go Kabbalistic here again because I don't see any other way. There is a new space of living that the human being can discover, and that is the space of human intentionality. Intention. The intention is not our desire, it's not what we want, it's why we want. It's not what we do, it's why we do it. And on that level, you can practice some latitude that we can call free choice. Some space there is left for you to add to whatever state you have in life. That layer of reality is unseen. You can't judge a person's intentions through the 5 senses. A person may look like as they're doing something really bad or something really good. That's just the action. You do not know people's intentions. We try to judge it from their actions, and that's why courts and verdicts are always hard to determine, right? But we're talking about a whole world that opens up if you begin to explore it. You begin to see that through that dimension of human intentionality, through that dimension of intention, you can actually relate to the entire system, to all of humanity, to everything.
How do I tune in to the influences, the influences that I want to be tuned into, and not be just unconsciously receiving the influence of all of the just chaotic mess around me?
Right.
How do I
Right.
tune into that intentionality, that
Yeah.
intentional frequency?
Yeah, you of course that's what Kabbalah is all about. That's the whole practice, and it requires conscious efforts and work, work of the heart, really, because the intention is the aim of your heart. Heart means desire, your like your innermost desires, let's say. So the aim, where you want to go, where you want to be, what you want to become, what are you working for. That's a level that you need to work on. But honestly, there's another thing to be said here, and that is that even if you're the greatest Kabbalist, up there in the highest spiritual degrees, still you'll be influenced by your environment. And that's why even great Kabbalists, who became really great in their spiritual attainment, still made sure that they're in the right environment, even externally. Like the Kabbalist Yossi Ben Kisma example, for instance. So we can't. Kabbalah doesn't teach you how to escape the laws of reality. You can't. There are laws of nature. You can't escape gravity, right? You can't escape electromagnetism. You can't escape that. In the same way, we cannot escape our connection to all of nature. We're in that system, and we are bound by its laws. But we can relate to it differently and discover a new space where it's only up to our free choice. It's only up to us how much we live there, how much we act there. That level is beyond our body, beyond our five senses. It starts there with our intention.
Where can I recognize it?
What do you mean by recognize it? See it, like see the effects of it. Like
I want to be in that. I want to be influenced by that. I want that to control me, or I want to be receiving those thoughts from the network. I want to be perceiving those frequencies in the system.
Yeah, I don't know if that's where you're getting at, but you're gonna need a group of a few people to work with on that. You're gonna have to have an environment to work with.
So like the science experiment you said before, that I will smoke if other people in my environment
exactly
smoke. We create from a group of people this frequency between us.
Exactly.
And it emanates from there to the. Gotcha.
Beautifully said. Yeah, exactly. We are creating ripple effects. I don't know how to better describe it. Yeah, just like you said it. Yeah, so there is a way, folks, to not be an NPC if you're up for it. But
thank you, Patricia. Whoa. Patricia agrees with her $20 donation. Apparently.
Thank you for the love. Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So we're saved. We're saved. We're no more strings. Get out of this program.
That's what's going on here from week to week. A very nice way to reach that apex point here. The purpose of this group the purpose of this meeting here is to focus on those frequencies, to build this connection between us, and then to live in that, to be influenced through our lives through that, and not the endless black hole of emptiness.
Unfulfillment, yeah.
Unfulfillment. Friends, we're all en route to, well, those of us who are not in Israel yet, we're en route to Israel next week. We have, just like we had our retreat 2 weeks ago upstate, we also do a big global event a couple times a year, usually in Israel or other places around the world. So we will be en route. It starts, I think, Saturday. I'll be traveling on Thursday to the Middle East to see you guys.
Yes.
And all the other friends who are coming from 40 countries, I think I heard so far.
I'm so psyched is the word.
Yeah, psyched.
Yeah, no, this is gonna be great.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So we will be new people when you see us, not next Thursday, but the following Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Big hug. We love you. We think about you. We care about you. We read your comments. We're interested. We're dedicated to making this change in our lives while we're alive. And we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah.
New song by our friend Tony. Came out
Oh,
yesterday.
let's
All
go.
We used to live together before the soul came down, and we were there forever until I hit the ground. I dreamed that I was born here and everybody else. I don't need any more here just to forget myself. Take the beams that hold my house up, take my dreams and take my heart and all my bones, all my bones, all my bones crying for you. Take these bones, all my bones, all my bones, crying for you, crying for life and nothing else. A moonrise every evening, a sunset every night, and we just keep on breathing into and out of light. There's nothing left to get, dear, still something shining through. I see the table set here